Welcome back to Gandhi, and hey, I've discovered there's actually a top-down camera mode in this thing. Seems to work. Right, so we are about to continue and see how it all ends, but I just wanted to say I remembered what that game about Indian caste system was. It's actually the winner of the Zenobia Awards, the one that was held recently about board games on different and difficult subjects. And it's called The Tyranny of Blood, Indian caste system under British colonialism, and it doesn't have a publisher yet, but somebody might pick it up. And the logo of the game has a snake and a ladder, which is a reference, obviously, to Moksha Patam, a game which tells you that nothing in your life depends on your actions. You just go up the ladders and fall down when you meet a snake. Let's see how our game of snakes and ladders plays out. We are first... What the hell was that? Oh, great. Culling. There are actually two events here. And the next event... Let's go into third-person camera. Yeah, it doesn't have the same culling level. Right, so the next event is a critical event for us. This event is just the one which makes us go first. But let's see if there's any difference. This event doesn't do anything. This event... You know what? This event is not going to help us much because there are protest markers. There are no protest markers, we can't use them. I mean, I suppose I could place unrest. You know? Yes. I could play that event. I could drop a few unrest markers in a couple of areas. And it's not going to affect, well, extra unrest in a space which is already at unrest is not actually going to do anything to... It's not going to give revolutionaries extra victory points. So, you know, I could actually sit this one out. Okay, let's set this one out. I'm going to pass. That gives me a dude. Now let's see what this event actually is. Card 60, Gandhi's Young India newspaper. Well aware of the power of the press to publicize his message of non-violence and promote resistance to British rule, Gandhi published the weekly newspaper Young India from 1919 to 1931. Alright, and the action of the League is going to be... Negotiate with place a Muslim state. Oh, crap. It would. Here, in Punjab. They could do it in West Bengal too. Okay, I need to see priorities. Not attractive opposition, 2 pop, fewest cubes. 2 cubes, 3 cubes. Okay, it's going to be this one. Alright, the protest goes away. You know, I could use this in the next turn. This cube goes away, I'm moving it to the nearest city, I think that's the procedure. And the Raji is at 36. Oh, yeah, it balances itself out. Alright, the League's got itself a state. What next? Die roll less or equal available. Maybe they roll a 6? They roll a 6. Alright. Any available protest markers? Shit, they're going to... No. Wait a sec, do I have to do something else for negotiate? Remove protest marker. Oh right, I need to flip these guys. And... Shift restraint +1. That's actually nice. That's keeping us out of a crisis. And they're going to civil disobedience us. They're going to take away our protest marker. They can do it here. No, they cannot do it in West Bengal, but they can do it in every space with a base. And unity is at 1, so just one space that is not with a base. But there is only one protest marker, so... They cannot place a protest in Punjab because there already is a protest in Punjab. They cannot place a protest in East Bengal because there are no Muslim League pieces in Bengal. So it's got to be one of these single pop areas. I mean, theoretically they could start something in Calcutta and lock down all these guys, but they're not going to. Has to be the place with the fewest cubes, so it's not going to be... Oh, right. It's not going to be Jammu and Kashmir. And it's going to be either of these. Can it be Sindh? Can they start a protest without activists? Yes, actually they can. See, they don't even need activists if they have a base in the area. Right, so it's going to be one of these three, and we are rolling for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be Sindh. And that's it. Okay, they did Operation Special Activity. I'm trying to delay the moment where I flip the next card and it turns out that the game is over. Okay, the game is not over, and well, we actually get a very important event. Let's see what the card does. Card 35, Akali Movement unites Sikhs. The Akali Movement in the early 1920s sought to return control of Gurdwaras, Sikh places of worship, from Mahants appointed by a British governor to the wider Sikh community. Adopting methods of non-violent resistance, Akalis occupied several Gurdwaras and often faced violent reprisals. The Nankana Massacre, card 71, brought the issue to nationwide attention, resulting in the Sikh Gurdwaras Act of 1925 that transferred control of Gurdwaras in Punjab to a Sikh-led committee. Oh, nice for them. We're getting an awful lot of these massacre cards without actually seeing them in the game. It's kind of weird. I mean, a lot of references to massacres. We'll catch up with the massacres when it ends. Alright, so this is a critical event for us, and I agree, let's play it. Add one protest on rest marker and shift each of those spaces one level towards active opposition. Going to drop one on the rest marker in United Provinces, and one, let's do it in East Bengal. I'm going to shift those places to passive opposition. And I'm going to calculate our points. Right, I haven't given any points to the revolutionaries, so we're in the clear for now. I mean, they're still winning, but I'm kind of hoping that the Raj takes care of them. I really don't want to remove unrest and then see nobody win at the final victory check, because what happens then is that we have to play part of the campaign round, and that would give the Raj an opportunity to do stuff in all of these spaces where it has control, like switch them, flip them to support. And then the Raj can win at the very end. So let's not do this. Right, we'll play this event. Who is next? Revolutionaries. They're not going to first on the next card, then... Any unrest or revolutionaries bases without guerrillas. Yes. Yes, there is. Die roll. Yeah, they're going to rally. They rolled themselves out of continuing the rally operation, so they just rallied in Punjab, the usual. Next, infiltrate to place a base nowhere after the crisis. Infiltrate to replace one adversary. This is getting old. And the target is Punjab too. They're going to target player faction. Thanks. And that's their turn. Is the game going to suddenly end right now? No. Okay. Card 6, the Chaura Massacre. In the United Provinces in 1922, Raj police opened fire on a non-violent protest during the Roulette Satyagraha, Event 26, killing 3. Angered by the attack, the crowd rushed at the police, who retreated into their station. The protesters set the building ablaze, killing 23. In response to the escalation of violence, Gandhi feared that many had not fully embraced non-violence and called an end to the campaign, a decision he was widely criticized for. Yeah, this was a pretty embarrassing moment for Gandhi, but then again, not all protests that were started in his name were actually started by his activists, by him. A lot of them were spontaneous. Gandhi inspired them, they went out there and, well, if they could burn 23 cops, they did it. It wasn't quite about non-violence exclusively. And the Raj is going to do Operation and Special Activity because it doesn't need to lock anyone out. What is it going to do? Any underground guerrillas in support spaces? Shockingly, no. Oh, wait, yes, there is one. The ever-present guerrillas in Delhi govern in 2 spaces. Imperialism. Let's see how much it rolls for. 6. I don't like this. So it's going to spend 1 point here, 2 points to remove this unrest again. Then they're going to remove this, and they're going to get themselves 1 point of support. I swear I've seen this turn, this exact same activity before. But that's not all, they've got another space where they can do it. Hey, this is actually looking better. Surprisingly nice. Okay, now they're going to sweep. Alright, we've got another horde of sepoys and even 2 troops rush into Punjab and take control, and they got control in Bihar too. And the Raj is now going for the win. Let's see if the League can do anything to prevent this. Adds opposition, state, League pieces, protest to Muslim spaces. Removes support. Okay, so it removes support, meaning it is an effective event for the League. So add an unrest marker to 1 space with both activists and troops, remove 2 cubes there, and set the space to neutral. There are no priorities for this in the rulebook when you deal with something this complicated. We want to remove support, we want to remove unrest, we want to remove adversary pieces. If I do it here, it's going to be placing... Oh, wait, not here. West Bengal will be placing unrest, which is not good. Here I'll be taking away opposition, which is not ideal for the League. I'm making an executive decision. The one thing that's going to prevent the Raj from winning on the next card that the League can do is run Ciao Massacre in Bihar. 1 troop. Troops are always a priority. Notice it says just remove 2 cubes. It doesn't do the whole thing that where the troops are shielded by sepoys. Now just remove them. And set the space to neutral. And we recalculate, and we get Raj back to 36 points. Let's do it like this and see what happens next. What's our next card? Ooh, it's getting tense. Okay, card 53, rent strike in the United Provinces. Withholding the often heavy taxes due British landlords was a common act of civil disobedience across India, more often a reaction to local economic conditions than a direct display of support for the national independence movement. Right, so people just don't pay their rents because they don't have any money. Alright, card 53, is anyone going to... It's not a critical event, so the revolutionaries are just going to do Operation and Special Activity, because... Ooh, interesting, that's a critical event. If we could play this event, we could actually be closer to winning, slightly. This event is also interesting, it makes Raj ineligible through the next card. Alright, what the revolutionaries are going to play now. Guerrillas exceed unity in any spaces without a revolutionaries base. Yes, but it's not like you're going to place any. Any underground guerrillas without unrest? Yes, in East Bengal. They go into unrest. Isn't that lovely? Recalculating points. Raj loses 2, revolutionaries gain 2, they're going for the win again. Oh, right. I'm going to drop restraint right now. Oh, wait, no, I'm not going to, because it's actually a factor here. It's an activation number. 6. Okay, they clear this. where they can do restraint again. Wait a second. I should have rallied someone here. I forgot that there was an uncovered base here. Well, I guess they can do unrest here. Do they get to do it again? No, they don't get to do this again, so unrest is over. And their special activity is assassinate. Ooh. And I should pick between these two spaces. It's going to be this guy. And they lose control here. Alright, after all of this, we've got... Do I play this event or not? If I do non-cooperation now, even like as a limited operation, just to get some opposition, for example here in Bihar, it's going to slam restraint down by 1, and that's going to trigger a crisis, and the Raj will be able to place these two guys somewhere. Most likely here in Bihar to gain control. Because that's actually... or maybe here. Probably here, but I'm not taking my chances. So, I could wait it out, like one more card. Because this lets me shift 2 spaces towards active opposition. Yeah, let's do it, let's pass. It is kind of risky, but... Are we going to lose now? Hey! Okay. Card 8. Right, so these guys. I'm playing the event, what is it? Card 8, Webb Miller interviews Gandhi. Webb Miller was an American journalist who met Gandhi while traveling through India in 1930. They became friends, and Miller was present during the events of the 1930 Salt March, Event 55. He witnessed and reported on the Dharasana Salt Works raid, Event 12, describing in detail the brutality of the Raj police. "I have never witnessed such harrowing scenes as at Dharasana," he wrote. Though initially censored by British officials, when finally released, his reporting brought global attention to the independence movement. We're using this to flip 2 protest spaces towards active opposition. And it's going to be Bihar. And it's going to be Bombay Presidency. This way we get 4 points. Well, that was nice. Now the Raj is going to inevitably ruin our day. Or maybe not. The Raj is first on the next card. Will be first eligible on upcoming card. Pass. We get lucky. What is the League going to do? Any available protest markers? No. Negotiate will place a Muslim state. Here we go again. And that's what they're going to do. This goes away. This goes away. This drops over here. These guys sod off. And we rolled back again. Right, what next? They're going to rally. Okay, they've rallied in West Bengal. They placed another base. I don't know why, but... that's pretty much the only place where they can do this. I think that's all they're going to do. They've placed all their guys next to all of their bases, and they dropped one here, just in case. That's done, and the next card is going to... get a... 1, 2, 3, this is a 33% chance this is the end of the game. It's not the end of the game. Oh, crap. Card 50, RSS Paramilitaries. The game keeps throwing cards at me which don't have pronunciation guide at the back of the book. So, here goes nothing. The Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, or National Volunteer Organization, was formed in 1925. An extremist right-wing movement, the RSS sought to extend the power of the Hindu majority in India, saw Muslim demands for representation and partition as a direct threat, and criticized Congress as a weak British puppet. A RSS member, Nathuram Godse, murdered Gandhi in 1948. Spoilers game. We're nearing the end. Right, so it's not a critical event for anyone, and the Raj is going to do a Raj thing, and do Operation Special Activity, which will probably involve massive beatings. Any underground guerrillas in support spaces. Oh, by the way, I should have flipped all of these guys, right? Because there was a sweep. Really forgot about it. Any underground guerrillas in support spaces? Wait, shouldn't I have removed this one? Did I forget? Yes, I think I forgot. When they did unrest. Underground guerrillas in support spaces. Yes, as usual in Delhi, you keep doing nothing there. Actually, that guy should be flipped over. Because, I mean, the troops, they can sweep for free. Did I screw up that sweep? Did I screw it up massively or not? Okay, let's go into... This would have been control. I should have moved the troops out more last sweep. At least one guy should be here, yeah. And... something like this. Oh, right, there definitely has to be this. They would have taken Costalandra. I don't want to redo it. Just that the troops should not be sitting in the city. They don't have many places to go to. Okay, we've dealt with these. There's surprisingly few spots where a troop can go from Karachi, now that this is a state. Okay, let's do it like this. Give the Raj a couple more points. Alright, any underground guerrillas at support? No. Any two-pop spaces at active opposition? Surprisingly, none. 6+ cubes total in protest spaces. Oh, yes. Yes, there are. Any protest spaces without activists? No. And then there was no control here. Sorry. Do I roll... Is it going to roll a 1? No, it didn't. It's going to assault. Alright, so the Raj... Supposedly, I guess, we got lucky. Maybe the Raj is out of resources, but it only attacked with sepoys in one space. Now it's going to do it with cubes, with troops. Let's do it like this, and now they're going to govern. Yes, we're... 4 shifts to support. Okay, so East Bengal or Madras Presidency. We're going back to good old East Bengal 1. Okay, they burn through 3 points here, and it's going to spend 1 last here to remove this unrest, and that rolls the league... Well, the revolutionaries back 4 points, yes. Now the revolutionaries are going to... There's nothing for them on the next card, so they're going to do the event, I guess? Move up to 4 pieces, total belonging to 2 factions from out of play to available. It's not going to do the event, it doesn't have any of its own pieces. So... Fine, let's see what they're doing. Any guerrillas in 2 pop spaces with no unrest? In 2 pop spaces with no unrest? No. Oh, I know this card. They're going to do aid and then unrest. Yes, aid to go underground to 2 spaces. They cannot do special activity, so just unrest. There's only 1 space where they can do it, and that's Madras Presidency. And they get another 2 points. Very close. We suck. Revolutionaries are maybe winning. Alright, next card, 50-50 chance. Well, this is the end. Oh, right. The revolutionaries are in the lead, the Raj is close. They've won. So, let's see what the game means by this, because there is actually a victory, non-player victory, unless the player wins. If revolutionaries, Indian civil war. As Britain withdraws, India crumbles into communal violence as Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs maneuver to defend their own ethnic enclaves. Well, it kind of sounds like a bad ending. Which is strange because, the revolutionaries in this game, they kind of include a lot of communist agitators who were just disagreeing with the whole non-violent movement, not because it was non-violent, but because it was nationalist, and they wanted to approach things differently from Marxist theory ways. In the book, in the Insurgent Empire, there is this interesting guy who was from India, but he managed to get elected as a member of the British Parliament, and he was there throughout the 1920s. Unfortunately, he died in 1936 of a heart attack. But in the 20s, he was there, he was agitating, he was telling everyone how it sucks in India, how Britain is being hypocritical about ruling the nation, and at some point they even let him into India, which was very difficult because they knew he would be stirring trouble, and he picked a verbal fight with Gandhi, saying that, why don't you work with communists, why don't you work with the labor movement? To which Gandhi kind of reasonably replied that India is an agrarian country, it's mostly peasants, and he was trying to get the peasants involved in the movement, united against the British rule, and, his method worked, but, there was a lot of tension between the Indian National Congress and a good chunk of revolutionaries who were communist, anarchist, whatever. Anyway, Insurgent Empire dedicates a bunch to this particular guy. His name is... give me a moment. Okay, the guy's name is Shapoorji Saklatwala, and I'm gonna read a page about him, some of the things he said. There can, Saklatwala repeats, be no mitigated, reformed or democratic version of imperialism, a danger even Indian nationalists court when they parley with the British government, tacitly accepting the right of this country to send a viceroy at all. The war had made clear that there could be no halfway house, that no country and no nation can now live at peace and in prosperity by crushing other nations economically. The only reforms that would make sense would obviate any requirement for imperial rule and start a scheme by which the workers and peasants of India enjoy the same standard of life as the workers and peasants of Europe and of America. Saklatwala also repeatedly emphasized the paradox of petitioning for reforms in a colonial context. Either a country had the right to rule another without being told how to do it, or it had no right to do so. Anything else was just little details in the art of governing another nation by a sort of hypnotization. Saklatwala's criticisms enshrined the insight that, for all their humanitarian pretensions, reformist approaches to empire were devoid of a genuine universalism, which ought to be, by definition, indivisible. If the same principles of life are in every European or Asiatic nation, then it was constitutively impossible to bestow such things as freedom and sovereignty in a gradual manner. The routine elision of anti-colonial resistance in favor of negotiation and petitioning obscured the simple fact, Saklatwala took pains to point out, that no British man or woman or any person in Europe would tolerate for one day a power so despotic and arbitrary as the Crown is insisting upon enjoying in India. And so, and this was the point which bore repetition, it was far from a uniquely British habit to resist tyranny. Theories emphasizing ineluctable difference in order to argue, for instance, that Asians venerated despotism were themselves, Comrade Sack pronounced damningly, a consequence of Western ignorance and self-regard. It is an untruthful statement to say that the people of the East are tolerating high privileges in monarchy and in their ruling castes and classes. It is a false notion. It is the Western conceit. It is the Westerner admiring himself, as though the Westerners have the highest consciousness of human life. pointing to examples of rebellion by the Chinese, Turks, and Persians, the last having overthrown completely one monarch after another, Saklatvala tore apart fraudulent theories according to which Asiatic people always allow a good deal of latitude to their monarchs, as enacting a self-serving and willed Western ignorance of histories of Asian resistance. In fact, he averred, with a touch of malice, the opposite was true. No Eastern country would tolerate, as the British people have tolerated, the humbug and nonsense from the governing classes. Equally, schoolboyish British theories of India as a country always ruled by a foreign monarch appeared to overlook the fact that Britain had routinely sourced its own rulers from abroad. A few families supply monarchs to Europe, just as a few biscuit factories supply biscuits all over Europe. Saklatvala rejected reformism because it inscribed the right of an imperial higher consciousness to extend its generosity and intelligence towards a consciousness figured as less advanced. As a result, it was fundamentally antithetical to the principle of human equality and led inevitably to double standards even in progressive rhetoric. You call the Indians seditious when they protest against these things, but when you rise in revolt in this country against the ruling classes, it is called the spirit of democracy. End quote. There's more about the guy in the book, but I'm going to stop here. So yeah, the revolutionaries are not necessarily sending all of India into like an all-out civil war. It may be just a different kind of revolution, but then again, developer notes, designer notes. It's just that, the designer's argument is, the designer model, the main addition this game makes to the series is the addition of non-violent factions, so they're kind of supposed to be the star of the show, and let's see what their endings are. The Muslim League, yes, it's partitioning. This is the historical outcome. Indian National Congress. Look at this. If the Indian National Congress wins, a politically dominant Congress party negotiates the withdrawal of British forces, establishes the largest democracy on the planet. I don't know, maybe they could have done this? Or maybe not. But there is a pretty massive gap between, an Indian civil war and the largest democracy on the planet. It is a bit of a designer's opinion. Every game has designer's opinion. We can't do things otherwise. Right, so we've missed a few cards. A few cards did not appear in the game. Assault on the Dharasana Salt Works and preemptive strike and movement leaders. Right, let's take these cards and see if there is anything interesting in them, where it talks about different cards. Alright, I've put the cards in more or less in a numerical order, so they should be coming in the order of appearance. I'm not going to read all of this, but here we go. British Indian Army defends the Empire. Next card is India is the Jewel of the Crown. The phrase comes only from 1966. I think this is the guy who is going to become... Yes, he is the first India Prime Minister, and the sequel expansion I've seen in the works was about his period. Next we get... Oh, this is the event everyone's been referencing that is so massive. Jallianwala Bagh. They want to celebrate Sikh New Year. Instead, a British general opened fire on them because he thought they were revolutionary and killed 379 people. And that the British let him off. So this is an event that frequently referenced. Next we get... Wait, I missed another... Wait a second. We go back a moment. This is a first roundtable conference in London. Kinda pointless. Apparently it was the first time they met as equals, but they didn't actually attend. Right, card 11. Palace made a prison. Card 12. Assault on Dharasana Salt Works. Again, several hundred killed. Card 10. Experiment in home rule in a princely state. And then they incorporated the state into India. Card 22. Radical socialists conspire with Japan. So here's another possible outcome of, revolutionaries winning. They raised a personal army from Indian soldiers captured in North Africa. What a guy. Died in a plane crash. 30. Japan occupies Indochina. Oh yeah, Japan kinda did something like this. This might lead an insurgent player to remove a bunch of troops, because they're called over to Indochina to defend whatever is happening there. Next card, 32. Cellular Jail, and no, they don't offer good reception. Notorious for the poor treatment. They closed it, eventually. Quit India Movement, again something we've seen referenced time and time again. Arrest over 100,000 activists. Where did they find the jail space? I suppose in the Cellular Jail. Oh wait, they closed it in 39. Interesting. Okay, card 39. Everything's about 39. Yes, I cannot pronounce this. Kudai Khidmatgaris. No, we actually heard about these. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Pashtun non-violent group. Preemptive strike again on movement leaders. Under the Defense of India Act. Oh, I don't think they mention it on any of the cards, but the penal code in India allowed, if you were suspected of conspiring to deprive His Majesty or Her Majesty, whatever Majesty, of India, you could be brought to trial without a jury and without any evidence. And you didn't even need to have done anything. If they just suspected you for, thinking that India would be better off without Britain, they could do this. They could try you and they could convict you. Alright, card 44, Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. Destruction of the Raj through any means including violence. Yes, by the early 30s, most members jailed, killed. I think these guys, I've read... Yeah, I think it was an insurgent empire. It just mentioned that this group was actually inspired by the IRA. So Irish rebel songs are actually fitting for India. Next. Oh, no, this guy. Lala Lajpat Rai. He actually started agitating. Yes, he was fighting for independence since joining Congress in 1907. He was a part of the pre-Gandhi Swadeshi movement. And then he got killed. And this triggered Bhagat Singh to kill the police superintendent who was involved in this, responsible for this in some way. Everything is connected. Campaign to end untouchability. 51. Britain maintains the salt tax. And here they explain why salt was even necessary. Telangana Peasant Rebellion. Oh, in Hyderabad. Next we've got Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of India. A poet. Interesting. Died not long after independence. Well, at least she lived to independence. Kadi spinning wheels. Yes, this is the symbol we see on all the pieces in the game, all the Congress pieces. That's the explanation of their importance. And also why they were important for resistance, because, just make your own cloth, don't buy British, it's crap anyway. Land reform demanded. Ooh, I hate it when they snap like this. Yeah, the British relied on Indian landlords to collect stuff from Indians, which was very convenient. 68. Red for trials. Yes, this is about the Indian National Army. Here's the Indian National Army. These are the guys who allied with Japan as a way to get rid of the Raj. Chase the British away. And then they failed. But they got widespread mutinies, led to light sentences. Card 70. All India Forward Bloc. a left-wing group. And finally, we've got another massacre, because, of course, how is this? You can't do this without a massacre. 1921. Alright, and we've seen all the other cards, we've seen all the cards in the game of all the events. And I think the revolutionaries won, though it may have been close, neck and neck with the Raj. Victory. If any non-player faction passes a victory check, all players lose equally, so... I mean, I lost anyway, and the question whether it's the Raj or the revolutionaries is not really a question. Alright, we're going to stop here. India has been successfully driven to some form of not being under the British. No, not by me. And it's currently in a bit of a mess, with all the unrest everywhere. If I ever go back to board games, I might get back to Coin Series with Colonial Twilight, which is shorter and simpler, it's only 2-player. Or I might wait for that expansion for Fire in the Lake, which lets you play like 10 years of the war in Vietnam in this form. But I'm really waiting for, Hubris, Twilight of the Hellenistic World. It might come next year, might come the year after that. It's covering Greece and Anatolian Peninsula and Egypt. It starts at the time when Rome is being punched in the face by Hannibal during the Second Punic War. And while this is happening, you are one of the 3 factions in Greece. You're either controlling Macedon, or Seleucids, or Egypt, Ptolemy. It's a really strange game because all factions are very different. We get Macedon, where you're technically controlling Greece, but the Greece is like still feeling very unruly, very democratic, in the sense that every single guy who is controlling a single city or 2 thinks that he is the hot shit and he can do fine without you. All the while, you have to keep an eye on the Romans, because of course after the Second Punic War, Romans decided, hey, we can be an empire, we can start invading other places, and there is like a mechanism where Macedon is getting invaded by Romans. They start with Illyria they land to deal with Illyrian pirates in Illyria, but then might decide that they want some more land, can start moving into your territory. So Macedon has that going for it. Then you get Ptolemy, who are very rich because they're in Egypt, except all of their troops are mercenaries, and if you at any point run out of money for some reason, like a natural disaster, well, guess who is not working for you anymore? The mercenaries. And then you get the Seleucids, who are sitting on Anatolia, and they're kind of like stretched out. And in the mountains of Anatolia, they've got a shit ton of rebels who are constantly attacking them. So you might want to go and campaign against one of your other 2 neighbors, but you have to remember that the rebels might come from the mountains at any moment and wreck your shit. In addition to that, there is also the whole court mechanism. It's basically Crusader King's Light, where your court people always are trying to plot against you, and if you, say, decide not to involve your ruler in military operations and put them at risk, well, that means that some general out there is doing all of that, and if they're winning battles, they are gaining prestige, and they might decide that they want to be the ruler now, and you get a coup. Or you might get many crafty people in your court, and if your ruler is not craftier than they are, they will overthrow you in some other way. And of course your ruler might die, actually they will die, and their idiot son will ascend to the throne, and the idiot son will not have the capacity to deal with all the talented generals and the sneaky, crafty courtiers you've had before that their father could keep in check. So it's all going to collapse. And that's why it's Twilight of the Hellenistic World. There's a preview video of it being played, and it's very much just trying to get some sense out of chaos. They're also working on simple bots for it, like this. Very simple to run bots, like simpler than this. So I'm looking forward to this. Might also do Atlantic Chase, because it's a game about early World War II in the Atlantic, where the main idea is that you don't know where your own ships are. That's very annoying, but different. Anyway, we're done with this. I'll play something else now. Something that doesn't require me working for 3 bots at the same time. That would be very nice.